Hello, I'm Jim Richards. I want to welcome you to the broadcast today. We're going to be talking about magic buttons. And I know you got to be thinking, what are you talking? Is that like magic beans? No, we're not talking about magic beans. We're talking about magic buttons. You say, what are magic buttons? Magic buttons are those buttons that get pressed, those emotional buttons that get pressed when you're communicating with people, and suddenly you start acting in ways that you don't even understand why you're doing what you're doing. Or sometimes you'll be in a conversation with somebody and it'll be going great, and suddenly you unintentionally, unknowingly press one of their magic buttons and they start acting crazy. Listen, this is all about communication, and when you start understanding the secret signals, you learn how to take care of your magic buttons and how to avoid their magic buttons and have meaningful, loving, positive communication. You can get this message and the series in its entirety at impactministries.com. Be sure and get every part of this. It's going to transform your world. You know, when you change your communication style, you will change everything in the world around you. The Bible tells you when you can control your tongue, you can control your whole body. And I got news for you, you can influence around you. This incredible series called Secret Signals is going to teach you about some of the practical aspects of communication. Plus, you're getting the bonus material that's going to develop you and give you tools so that you're going to bring life to your conversations, to your relationships, and to your world with your words. All right, today we're going to jump into this thing about magic buttons. And this is a part of this series called Secret Signals. So you say, well, magic buttons, secret signals, what are we talking about here? Remember, in communication, there are the words that we speak, but then there are the unintentional signals that we send, our nonverbal communication. And studies show us that when there's conflict between our verbal and our nonverbal communication, that people always believe the nonverbal. So if I'm saying something positive, but I have a harsh or negative tone in my voice, it's not going to be received as being positive. It doesn't matter what my intentions are. It's a matter of how I communicate those intentions, and it's a matter of what those things say to you, which we'll talk a little bit about today. And what I call magic buttons, this is just very important. Everybody has buttons. You know, you'll hear people say, that person just mashed my buttons. They just pressed my buttons. They just set me off. Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about emotional buttons that people will touch on or press, and many times you won't even know why you're having this reaction. You won't know what it is they did that caused you to get in such a reactionary mode. You just find yourself reacting. Or many times you find them reacting and you're thinking, why are they reacting this way to what I said? Well, many times it's because through these signals that you're sending, you've touched on a button, or because of something they've been through in their past, you have touched on a button. But you know, because of our communication style and because of these things that happen, many people are never going to fulfill their life goals. They're never going to accomplish to a full degree what they desire. And one of the greatest inhibiting factors of reaching our goals, fulfilling our goals, is how we communicate. And remember, one of the reasons that communication is so difficult to get under control is because the Bible teaches that of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so you can't just go around forcing yourself to always try to say the right things, because what's in your heart is going to come out. So yes, you can get some self-control. Yes, you can learn some disciplinary things, but at the end of the day, you've got to influence your heart if you want to change what's coming out of your mouth. Now, remember, just by review, we talked about that we've got to decide what it is we want to accomplish, or what our goal is, in how we relate to people and what we experience with people. And then we said you need to come up with an emotional impact statement. In other words, how do I need to make this person feel if I want to reach this goal in their life? Now, I'm not talking about manipulating people. I'm talking about reach a goal in their life. I'm not talking about getting people to do something they don't want to do. That's not what I'm talking about. But my goal is, what kind of influence do I want to have over people? What kind of influence do I want to have on my kids? What kind of influence do I want to have on my spouse? What kind of influence do I want to have on the people that I'm ministering to? You know, sadly, usually when we try to influence people, we tend to default to using force or using pressure. And that creates conflicts, that drives people away from us, that makes people feel unsafe and unloved. And it really causes people to shut down and not communicate. Or when they do communicate, they communicate violently because they're reacting to us putting pressure on them. Pressure is never the healthy way to accomplish anything with anybody, or at least not anything positive. Because remember, whatever kind of seed you sow determines what kind of crop you get back. And if pressure is what you use to accomplish things with people's life, you are not going to like what comes back to you from this. You know, when you start learning communication skills, if you've got a corrupt heart, yes, you can use this for manipulation. That's not what we're teaching, though. It's not what we're trying to get you to do. Actually, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get you to walk in love. You know, the Bible tells us, that we should do unto others as we would have them do unto us. And so we tend to take that and say, okay, in the realm of communication, I just want you to give me the bottom line. Well, you know what? That doesn't mean that other person wants the bottom line. Well, that's what I want, so evidently that's what everybody else wants. So you're judging everybody based on your own desires, your own benefits. You know, if I'm going to do unto you as I want you to do unto me, I want you to communicate with me in a way that makes me feel safe and comfortable. So I might prefer just bottom line, direct information. But if I want to make you feel safe and comfortable, then I've got to find out how you prefer it. So sometimes we even misinterpret what it means to do unto our neighbor. There's some people that like bottom line. There's some people that would rather you introduce ideas very slowly and let them process it. There's some people that just want to make sure that they want to know that you're going to like them and not be mad at them and that you're not criticizing them. And we've got to understand what people want. A lot of people say, well, that's just foolishness. People just need to be ready for the truth. No, that's where you're being mean, inconsiderate, unloving, and expressing little or no value for people. Here's something that I found out about influence. And this is influence in the business world. This is influence in ministry. This is influence with my family. This is influence with my friends. I have found that if I have something somebody wants, or if I want to present something to somebody that can bring value to their life, that what I've got to do first is I've got to make them feel comfortable with the process. And that's going to happen by the way that I communicate with them. And if I communicate with people in a way that makes them feel safe and valued and non-threatened, then they're going to let their heart wall down, if you will. They're going to let their guards down, and they're going to open up to me because they feel safe with me. But you see, sometimes, even though we're doing all these things to help people feel safe, sometimes we still touch on these magic buttons. And by the way, let me mention this. If you want to invest in yourself in a way that'll transform your life more than anything in this area of communication and removing conflict, take our Counseling One program from Impact International School of Ministry. It's all about understanding your behavior, identifying behavior traits in others, learning how to communicate effectively with them. I'm telling you, it is just such an incredible program. Now, so I want to communicate with a person in a way that makes them feel safe. I want to create a non-threatening environment where it's safe to discuss anything. You know, I heard this saying about, 20, 25 years ago, and man, it has stuck with me all of these years. You see, the person that will influence your life the most will not be the person you believe in. It will be the person who believes in you. When you realize that someone believes in you, when you realize that someone sees your strengths, when you realize that someone has value for you, and they can communicate that effectively, when you sense and realize that that person believes in you, then suddenly you're going to become highly, highly motivated by that person. I had a really interesting experience with two of my grandkids the other day, or just in the past month. In conversations that they were having with other people, two of my grandkids said to the people that they were talking to, they said, well, Granddaddy never gets mad. And of course, I'm thinking, your mother probably would not agree with you. When you're raising kids versus relating to grandkids, it can be very different. But what's interesting, when it got back to me that that's what these two grandkids said about me, I have found that when I'm around them, there's something in me. I'm not thinking about it, but there's something in me that wants to never express anger around them, or never express tension, or never get mad. Why? Because when we know people see something good in us, the Bible says, it's like drawing water out of a well. It talks about how a wise man will draw deep things or deep counsel out of somebody else. And that's what it's when we believe in people, and when we convey the things that we value about people, or make them feel good about themselves. I'm not talking about flattery. I'm not talking about those kinds of things. I'm talking about what the Bible calls love. Expressing value for people, holding someone in high regard, considering them precious. Well, sometimes the only value you can have for somebody sometimes is like, what, Jesus died for you. You're created in the likeness and the image of God. And right now, that's about all I've got for you. But you know what? That should be enough. That should be enough to alter the way we talk to and the way we treat people. Now, in conversation and in communication, there are going to be those times when either we or they become unreasonably reactionary. Now, when a person becomes unreasonably reactionary, as often as not, we have unintentionally pressed one of their magic buttons. We've unintentionally touched some aspect of their life, and when that part of their life gets touched, then suddenly they go out of control. And this gets into why so many times people don't live their dreams. Proverbs 25:28 says, like a city whose walls are broken down is a man who lacks self-control. I want to tell you something. Self-control is a fruit of the Spirit, according to Galatians 5:23. And if it's a fruit of the Spirit, then this means as I'm yielding to the Spirit of God, this should be part of the fruit that grows in my life. Now, I want you to realize self-control, though, like all fruit grows. Fruit is not a gift where God says, here, I'm going to give you the gift of self-control. Fruit is something that grows as we abide in Him, as we abide in the vine, and it's something that is developed through the beliefs of our heart. Now, without self-control, your life is out of control, because without self-control, then basically you live a reactionary life. You are reacting to what people around you say and do because of what it means to you. Remember, a magic button is that invisible button that a person can press that makes you react really in a pre-programmed manner. Now, these people don't know that they're mashing your buttons. You don't even know that you have a button, but you do. And that's why these reactionary things happen. You see, in communication, many times we think that I am communicating to you what I intend to communicate to you. Well, I want to tell you something. People don't hear what you intend. They have a whole life history that causes them to interpret things the way they interpret it. And the expression on your face, the tone of voice, even the way you look can alter how they hear what you are saying, how they interpret what you're saying. So the real truth is, communication means what it means to me, not what it means to you. In other words, when you're communicating with me, it means what it means to me. By the same token, when I'm communicating with you, no matter what my intention is, it means what it means to you. And so, but we get into this reactionary attitude where it's like, if you don't get it the way I intended it, then you're just stupid or there's something wrong with you. No, if they don't get it the way we intended, our job, if we're walking in love and if we truly want good communication, is to back up, to solve or remove the offense, and then have advance in a loving, positive, safe way to discover how to say what I need to say in such a way that they'll actually get it, grasp it, and understand it. So, like I say, the question is never what did they mean. The question is, what does it mean to me? There's a terminology used that in some circles of understanding emotional patterns that's called schemas. Now, the word schema comes from the word schematic. Now, if you've ever worked on anything electrical, which I'm really not electrically inclined, but you realize you have a schematic. Now, a schematic basically is going to say this is where the power comes in, this is the on and off switch, and when you flip this switch, then this electrical signal is going to run through this clock or this amplifier or this television, and it's going to follow these patterns. And a schematic shows you the patterns that energy is going to go through in your television, in your amplifier, in your clock, in your radio, or whatever you're using, and it's going to show you how it changes at different stages. Well, we have emotional schemas. A schema is a thought pattern that we run when someone presses a particular button. They are the reactions usually that protected us sometime in the past, even though they're completely irrational for the conversation or the situation that we're in today. So, I'll give you a good example of this. When I was a child growing up, I grew up in a pretty violent environment. And of course, I lived in constant fear of my stepfather. And I always knew that at any given moment, he could come unhinged. And if he came unhinged, he would hurt whoever was there. And so you walked on eggshells all the time. But as a child, I learned very early that rather than arguing, fighting, reacting, I would just be strategic. And when I walked into a room, and he came in, I would always start moving and repositioning myself so that I always had a way of escape. So that if he blew up, if he went crazy, bam, I'm out a door, I'm out a window. And honestly, that saved my life one time. Some of you know my story. My stepfather tried to kill me in my sleep, and he and another guy were going to finish me off. And the only thing that saved my life was I managed to get close to a window and jumped out the window and got away. Well, amazingly, when I was about 40 years old, one day after church, I got through preaching, and I was going to meet a group of people at a restaurant. And when I get to the restaurant, I get there, and I'm walking toward the table, and the closer I get to these people, the more angry I get, the more upset I get. I can't understand why I'm getting so angry and so upset. I was just to the stage of to be belligerent by the time I got to the table. I could not understand because I was looking forward to being with these people. Well, it was real simple. Everybody had gotten there before me, so where I was going to have to sit would have put me in what would have been a vulnerable situation. There was nobody there that was going to hurt me. There was nobody there that was going to try to take my life. But you see, this was a schema that I had developed, and I had just developed this subconscious pattern of always positioning myself to be safe in any physical environment. Well, you see, we have all kinds of things like that. There are words that somebody used in the past that hurt us. There's a look that somebody in the past would give us and it would scare us. There's all kinds of similar situations, and when we get into those situations, it's called an association. In other words, you remind me of this, or when somebody uses these terminologies, I remember these bad experiences. Or it could even just be when somebody gets angry with me, I associate this with something that happened in the past. And so now I am reacting to the present situation like I did those threatening situations in the past when my life was in danger or my emotions were being destroyed or somebody was, trying to do some kind of damage or bring some kind of pain or affliction into my life. So like I say, these schemas, these patterns that we develop, they are reactions that protected us at some time in the past. They were reasonable reactions in that environment, but today, in a normal environment, they are destructive. But Proverbs 16:25 says, there's a way that seems right to a man, but the end leads to death. And we're doing this because we think that this is what's going to salvage us. We think that this is what's going to keep us safe. So we have to realize that, number one, we all have these magic buttons, but all of the people around us have these magic buttons. I've not only got to be vigilant to notice when my emotions change, I've got to be vigilant and constantly observing to notice when you change, when you suddenly start acting different. You see, we need to notice what happens in us and in others so that rather than just flip straight into some reactionary mode, we can resolve and diffuse the situation. What's really interesting, and in Counseling 1, you'll get this if you decide to take this course, or you can get the series, which is a mini version of the course. You can get the series on behavior and learn much of this same material. But one of the things that's really interesting is I've noticed that when people feel pressured, most people change their communication style. And in the business world, when you first start talking to somebody, you're talking to them about something they want, something they're interested in. But then when it comes time to close the deal, suddenly now they feel under pressure and they start communicating different and wanting different kinds of input. And that's where most salespeople or most negotiators lose the person they're negotiating with, because they're still trying to negotiate based on how the conversation was working 5 minutes ago or 2 minutes ago or 3 minutes ago. They're not really noticing when these changes take place in other people. Well, you know what? When we notice that other people shift and suddenly they get reactionary, they get negative, they get defensive, their body language, they cross their arms or they cross their legs and kind of turn away from you, or they stop making eye contact, that's when we have to stop and say, you know what? Evidently, I have said something that has affected you negatively, and that's not my intention. Can you kind of tell me if I've done something? And really, we can draw out of them what we have said or what we have done that have made them feel the way that they feel, and we can diffuse the situation. So many times in husbands and wives situations, we see the other person change, and we do say, well, what's the matter with you? Well, see, that's the problem. Now we're saying, yes, things have changed, but it's your problem. Well, when you walk in love, you don't take on other people's responsibilities, but when you walk in love, you realize that, something, if I can change my communication style and make you feel a little bit safer, I will. So the question here is not, okay, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? The question is, I'm sorry, what did I do wrong? Because I notice you're shutting down on me, or notice that you're getting upset. And so I've done something, and I want to apologize. If you know what it is, you apologize. If you don't know what it is, then you just say, I've done something. I want you to help me understand what it is, because obviously I'm not making you feel safe. And you know what you do? If they can't talk about it right then, walk away, let them process it, come back and talk about it later. There's so much about this that I can't go into just because of the time of these programs, but you'll get this in this incredible series called Secret Signals. Listen, come back from our mentoring moment. I got something important I want to share with you. And I hope you're getting something out of this program. And, more than just getting some information out of it, I hope you're going to go put this to work. You're going to apply this in your life, and you're going to bring more love and more peace into your life. And you know, that's what we do. We minister to people all over the world to help more people connect with God, experience the fruit of the Holy Spirit growing in their life so they can be who they want to be in Jesus, so they can live their dreams, fulfill their goals, and fulfill their calling and their destiny. And all of this is made possible by our world changers. Our world changers are the people who say that if the world sees God the way He really is, He can transform their life, and we'll have what we need in this world. You know, if you're interested in becoming a world changer and helping us touch the world with these incredible messages of grace, peace, love, all of these important factors, then go to our website and check out about becoming a world changer, or call and talk to somebody in our World Changer family. We want you on our team. I know if you've been following this whole series that by now you understand there are very few things that are going to affect you and the world around you like your communication style. Be sure and get the Secret Signals 6 CD series and the free bonus download of Speaking and Listening, the Art of Communication, and the other bonus download of Wisdom for Communication. This is going to be one of the greatest investments you've ever made in all of your relationships. And one of the great things about all of God's Word, and that is when we believe it in our heart, we go through transformation. It's not about trying to change. It's about believing the truth. And the truth, when we believe it, takes us where we need to go in our life. You know, when it comes to breaking patterns, it is so important that as much as possible you learn how to influence your heart, so that you're doing this more from your beliefs than it is just from self-control, just from thinking this is what I need to do, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to do. Now, self-control is important. It's a starting place, making that decision. But I want to encourage you, if there are people or situations that set you off, get alone, get in your heart zone, and see or experience or imagine yourself getting into that same situation, but experience or yourself handling it a different way. Experience yourself being peaceful. Envision, create a mental movie where you see and watch yourself in a movie, if you will, where you're handling it very calmly, very reasonably. And as you do that, then you commit it to the grace of God. Father, this is who I am in Jesus. This is the way I choose to be in Jesus. This is the way I choose to react to these types of situations. And the more you do that, the more you see yourself handling situations differently, the more you're going to experience incredible benefits. You know, one of the most powerful, simple heart tools that I have is called Limitless Living. And it's a heart physics CD where it helps you go through a process to identify repeated behavior, repeated emotions, repeated situations, and go through what the Bible calls putting that off, renewing your mind, and putting on the new man that you are in Jesus. I promise you, no matter what you're facing, you can deal with it. You can overcome it. And the series that we're offering is going to help you incredibly. Plus, you can begin to add new tools for working with your heart. And I'm telling you something, you can change sometimes in one session of doing heart work, something that you've struggled with for 50 years. So, you know what? Put off the old man, put on the new man, and you'll communicate differently.